Ready?
Yeah.
Dinner in Hell Band.
Oh, you said it. You said it. You said it that time, DT.
I'm feeling groovy today.
This audience, we're all just chill. Lights dim. Everyone that like the colored candle is chill.
Yeah, and really nice ambiance in here tonight.
How weird we're both wearing all dark.
Yeah, I'm in the same tuxedo I'm always wearing. Black on black on black. All black tuxedo, like always.
I'm wearing my Luke Skywalker uniform from Return of the Jedi when he returns to Endor and it's face Vader.
Naturally.
I'm wearing that because I just got here from the convention.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever been a member of the studio audience, obviously you would know these things. But, not everybody gets a chance to make it down here, and we're only a little ashamed of you for that.
But I am going to take off my black glove because my hand's starting to get a little sweaty. That, how Luke had the mechanical hand in a glove.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that for the show because I got to use my keyboard and stuff here at my booth.
Yeah, it's and it's a little humid here today. Speaking of here, welcome back for another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, the show where two amateur historians talk about the atrocious underbelly of history. I am one of your co-hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, Ron Money Maiden.
50 and 0, motherfucker. I'm just kidding. Oh my God! Did you get did you manage to get like a private viewing or a pirate viewing of that fight?
I watched it the next morning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I fell asleep. I got up and I watched it the next morning.
I gave up on trying to find good, solid streams, so I ended up just watching the next morning on Twitter. Someone posted, "We want to see the ending of the fight." So I saw the end. The ref stop it. Talk about McGregor and Mayweather fight, 2017. In case you're listening to this in in 2018.
Yeah, so it'll probably have to be like, I don't know, 2030 before we can talk about this fight. But what are we here to talk about tonight, Ron?
Tonight we're talking about the Mackinac Massacre. This is a story about trust, strategy, revenge, and slaughter, and just a hint of rice cultivation.
Yes. Well,
a hint.
Yeah, just a touch.
We're just going to dab of it. Dab will do ya.
Dab will do ya.
If you think of our whole episode as a pile of white rice, 1 grain of rice is the amount of the show we're going to put into the rice cultivation topic.
The rice segment's not going to be too long today.
This isn't a rice This isn't the rice episode. This is about a freaking Native American uprising against the paleface.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
this
Michigan is about the deadliest lacrosse game in the history of mankind.
Mackinac Massacre.
Yep, this took place in our very own home state of Michigan.
Yes, we are an international podcast, but we are Michigan-based in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say we're an American podcast or an international? I'd say international. Hello, South Korea. Welcome aboard.
Don't tell Alex Jones, but this is a full-on just globalist podcast. We're globalists.
Yeah, we are international. Multi-countries listen to our
we
show.
are in contact with any number of alien species. The Pleiadians, the Greys. They are pulling the strings, and we are their shills doing their bidding.
Friggin', we took a call from a Lizard Man fan just not two episodes ago. I think.
Yeah, Lizard Bill.
Yeah, he's total alien lizard.
Yeah, he's my reptile brother. He plans on eating a pretty good chunk of the population, but we've sold out to them. We're good.
Brother from another cloaca.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mackinac Massacre.
Yeah,
Michigan.
we
buckle up, Michiganders. Oh wait, before we go on, welcome West Bloomfield for checking in.
Yeah,
put some time in.
Yeah, maybe they knew this Michigan one was coming because they've been tuning in a lot up there in West Bloomfield.
Also, the Philippines played a few shows.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome.
Shout outs to our Filipino listeners.
Welcome. Okay, so here we go. Let's do this.
Let's say we get into some background of this first, because there's a lot of stuff at play here that ties into this.
Where does this take place?
The site of the deadliest lacrosse game in history was Fort Michilimackinac. Now, Fort Michilimackinac was founded in 1715, way back when, first as a French trading post. They had these forts, sort of in a whole system across their territory. Southern kind of Ontario, Quebec, and parts of the present-day United States that bump into those.
Is Fort Michilimackinac in French territory, or is this in U.S. territory or British territory?
It's in French territory at the time.
So the tip of Michigan between the two peninsulas is where we're at.
Yep, this is the fort. It's situated on the very northernmost tip of the lower peninsula of present-day Michigan.
Yeah, if the mitten part of Michigan, if you're picturing Michigan on the map.
Yeah, that's the Mackinac Straits. That's where Lake Michigan meets Lake Huron.
So that's where, is that region French?
Yep.
Okay. So it's not just like open, neutral. It's in their own country.
Yep, it's
territory, not
the French were sort of occupying or not as much colonizing it, but they were there. They were operating. They had this whole system of forts designed to. They had a monopoly on the fur trade.
Right.
Yeah, so that was what was mostly traded at all of these forts, sort of dotted all the way from, that was probably the Western Front then, as farthest west as Europeans had gone, and dotting the wilderness, basically, all the way back to the Atlantic Ocean.
Like that movie where Leonardo DiCaprio was attacked by a bear. Did you see that?
I did not.
Like they're facing Native Americans. They're trying to move these furs through the woods, but then they also come across French soldiers in the woods too, camping. Yeah, it's like that time.
Yeah, yep, yeah.
Like you load your gun, you shoot it. Now you got a freaking gunpowder,
put a musket ball in,
piece of fur. Freaking
takes like 45 seconds.
Like that, in the U.S., they got the right to bear arms. Like every man should be allowed to have a rifle. That's like the kind of rifle that they were talking about.
Yeah,
it's the kind that you took a piece of bunny fur and packed in the put the bullet.
Like you're pouring black
7
powder
minutes
down the barrel.
Yeah, everyone's allowed to carry one of those.
Yeah,
not the ones that go like. It's funny. So yeah, what I'm getting at is a lot of people have seen that movie with DiCaprio. This is probably that kind of era.
Yep, and around this time, the French had relocated their main presence to what is now the Dinner in Hell main headquarters area in Fort Detroit.
So you're talking Fort Detroit and Detroit. It just means in French, it means straight.
Yeah.
The Detroit River.
Yeah.
That runs between Canada and Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Detroit. Yeah, that's what we're talking. The French relocated their main presence in the region to Detroit, but they still kept Fort Michilimackinac up there.
Yeah, as if they got to run, they can go there and refuel, get supplies, depot.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the next major thing in the history of the fort would be in 1763, after the conclusion of the French and Indian War. The French lost that, so they relinquished all of their territory in North America to the British. And that's why Canada has the Queen on their money today. So the British take over Fort Michilimackinac and operate it essentially the exact same way, as a supply depot for fur trappers and as a trading depot, also mainly for furs. Furs was like the game around here back in the 1700s. People were dying for furs.
There were people that lived there too, right?
Yep, people definitely lived in the area.
Civilians or whatever.
Yeah, almost none of them were British. So it was sort of difficult for the British government to oversee it. There are only a few British fur trappers that were living in or around the fort.
Who was living there? It was French people?
Yes, mostly
that stayed behind?
It was composed mostly of French people it was also composed of the Métis, which were French Ojibwe people.
Which were Native American?
Correct. And they were by far the most numerous population near the fort, the Ojibwe.
Like, you're in Ojibwe land.
Yep.
We're just letting you be in Ojibwe land is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's my Ojibwe accent. Look, mister. You're this little fort's only here because we let you be here. Just understand that. Does that sound like an Indian chief?
No, but I can't do one.
Yes, you can. Just talk like this. I understand one thing, white man.
The most people who live around Fort Michilimackinac. Oh, that feels racist. I can't do that anymore.
My favorite type of woman, if I had to pick, would have to be a Métis woman. Something about the Native American hair with the French skin is just beautiful to me as a Native American chief. That's all I got for it. That's my freaking Ojibwe accent. Ojibwe, brought to you by. So, the people that lived in this fort were a couple British fur traders, some French,
more French, and
some Native Americans,
Métis,
and then some French that mated with
Ojibwe, the local Ojibwe.
And there's this big party out there in the woods. They're just like, you want to come over here and drink some French wine, mister? We never drink wine.
Most of them were Ojibwe, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what most of the people were.
Open-minded, those Ojibways.
Yeah, all the British people lived in the fort, and they were kind of sequestered from the rest of the population. So they weren't really members of the community because everybody else there spoke French.
Right. There would be a huge language barrier.
Yeah, or Ojibwe.
Like, the guys that are overseeing the operation, the British,
yeah,
they don't speak neither of the civilians' freaking language, so how would they get anything across?
Yeah, I'm sure there were
frustrating.
There weren't a lot of people there, or there weren't a lot of white people there. So it's a very small community, and you're talking about fur trappers. These people they enjoy spending most of their time alone. So the community aspect of it was probably more so their families. I mean, they had a French-speaking Catholic church, and that's where most of the people went.
Mm.
So let's talk about the Ojibwe, the main players in today's story. The Ojibwe today are the third largest tribe of First Nations in Canada and the fourth largest tribe of Native Americans in the United States. Their territory, generally speaking, at its heights, was kind of from the mouth of the St. Lawrence River and the Atlantic all the way, present-day Quebec, northern and southern shores of Lake Superior, and westward as far as North Dakota even.
Damn.
Yeah. And the Ojibwe aren't one tribe. They're sort of a nation that's composed of many different Ojibwe individual bands, I believe they're called. Not sects.
Sleeper cells?
God.
Is First Nations, is that Canada's way of saying Native Americans?
Yes.
What, because Canada's not North American?
Canada's not American.
But you're on North America.
Hey, dude,
Deal with it, Canada.
Dude, I think First Nations is cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Nation of Ojibwe.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
First Nations is way cooler. I think we should adopt it as well. I'll go on the record with that. That's my stance.
Who's your favorite First Nation of Southern North America?
The Lakota.
Yeah.
I'm one of my ancestors many removed. Not enough for me to have any sort of identity, but I'm proud of that. I think it's dope.
That's the first personal thing you've ever let out on this show.
I don't think so.
That's crazy. That's a huge moment for the show, you guys.
I mean, everybody knows my real name, Brad Impaler. Middle name the
T. Period. Oh. You didn't ask me what my favorite.
Oh. Do you have a favorite? First Nations?
The Seminoles.
The Seminoles?
Because I'm a big fan of Florida weather. Okay, I don't know.
Is that your third favorite peninsula,
Seminole-
if I'm not mistaken?
Dude, down in Florida, there's this thing called like Shell Island, Shell Mound or something. It's like a nature walk you can go on. It's on Sanibel Island.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was all these Native Americans, they knew that the hurricane was coming, the flood was coming, and they knew the animals were screwed. So they took all these shells and piled them super high for all the animals to have somewhere to stand on. So the animals didn't all drown. And they did that for their habitat.
It's
Otherwise,
awesome.
they'd never be able to hunt any more animals because they'd all be dead and there would be no more food.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I got something else to show you after the show.
Okay. Seminoles.
Is the Hurricane Harvey rolled in? This Cooper Hawk, like, just flew into this guy's cab and wouldn't leave. Like, it didn't seem, like, scared of him, but, like, it was just sat on his, like, chair. He was a taxi driver. He drove him around all day. He would not get out of the car.
Cool.
And, like, he wouldn't leave him.
He knew something was wrong.
Yeah, wild-ass bird would just, like, he could, like, sort of just scoop him up. Like, just carry him. Because he was just, like, please help. Like, he literally came to a dude for help.
He's like, first the sun went black with the eclipse. Now this weird-ass wind change.
Yeah, but I'll show you later.
And for you people at home, you're going to have to look it up yourself.
Yeah, Hurricane Harvey the Hawk. Look that shit up. It's awesome.
Okay. That'll be in the notes.
So the Ojibwe religion, also called Ojibwe, is a branch of the Algonquin language family. Their religion, called Midewiwin, does that seem right to you? That's why I couldn't find a pronunciation guide for it. So Midewiwin is how I'm going to say that.
Midewiwin.
Yeah, it's can generally be translated to something along the lines of spiritual medicine, which sounds cool to me too.
And they were also known for one little detail that we were just dying to hear about.
Mm-hmm. We plugged this for you earlier.
Get excited, rice fans, because these guys also had a skill of cultivating wild rice. That's right.
Yeah.
Boom, rice talk.
I mean, the rice fans in our audience, the rice heads, they're probably already well aware of the Ojibwe. I mean, we're talking like it's not really. They're not underground wild rice producers.
There's like rice heads out there that are like high-fiving each other right now. They're like, they did it, bro. They talked about rice.
Yeah, hell yeah. And we're going to talk about the Ojibwe. They're the Bill Russell of wild rice cultivation. So like everybody knows they're the best of all time.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not easy to do in North American environment.
This has
climate.
This has been NBA Rice Hour.
Why NBA?
Because I compared them to Bill Russell.
Oh, okay.
As a subtle dig at Michael Jordan, saying he's not the best ever. I can't resist hammering that nail into people every time. That wasn't their only trade skill that they were renowned for, though. The Ojibwe were also miners. They were well renowned for their skill and abundance in mining copper. They could also make fucking these badass birch bark canoes, and they also made scrolls. So they had a lot of writing, which was somewhat unique for the tribal cultures in North America.
Yeah.
Perhaps most importantly to the story at hand today, though, the Ojibwe had a sport. This sport, now this one is a tough-looking word as well, but I'm going to call it Baga-Adawe.
I would say Baga-Adawe.
Baga-Adawe? Baga-Adawe.
Like say the A twice. Baaga.
So I'm thinking of like Baal, Baal, the demon. So maybe it's...
I mean, if I'm thinking of tonally.
Adawe.
Like how would a First Nations man say this? He would say it tonally. So it'd probably be spelled tonally. Like in Arabic, there's like aha. Like there's like AA next to each other and you say each one.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sa'ad or something like that. Some shit like that. So that's what I'm thinking, Ba'aga.
Well, from here on out,
BAAGA_ADAWE.
yeah, from here on out, that will be pronounced as lacrosse.
Right, because they did it with a stick with a net on it, made with like deer skin. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, deer sinews generally, so
Yeah.
like tendons.
But what did the Ba'agada Adawe? What did it translate to?
Bump hips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a physical game. Like they're like taking each other down.
Yes.
Violent, entertaining.
It was pretty violent, and like for example, it was seen as cowardly to dodge an incoming defender.
Like if you chickened out, like, oh shit.
Yeah, so you know how like in football, like North American football, if you're running with the ball and someone's trying to tackle you, you know how it's like okay to juke them and dodge?
Yeah.
It wasn't okay to do that in lacrosse. It was seen as like bitching out.
Oh.
Yeah, so like if you were running with the ball and someone was coming to hit you, you would had no option other than to just full force barrel also against them. That was how this game was played. You were not trying to get around them. You were trying to get through everyone every time.
Yeah.
Also, key difference between this game and modern lacrosse.
One key difference?
Yeah, well, this is the key difference. Is there could sometimes be thousands of people playing.
Well, I would think another key difference is sometimes it'd be like the field would be like 6 miles long.
Yeah, there are.
Not like a football
sometimes
field.
lacrosse fields would be 6 full miles. Even at lacrosse fields at this point, at their smallest, are 3 football fields long.
Holy shit. How many people are on a team? 100?
Hundreds. I mean, now they play lacrosse in like a hockey rink. It's like tiny. And
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
Like 10 dudes on each team or whatever.
Yeah,
There could be 1,000 or more players on the field at any given time.
So
Sometimes this field, yes, could be 6 full miles long.
So how do you score in this lacrosse game?
Okay. In old lacrosse, there was no net. There were still goals. The object is to throw the ball at the goals, but there's no net. Rather than a net, the scoring is done on posts. So there'll be a large post. Generally, the one description I saw described them as 3 meters tall or 5 meters tall. So what do you think? Feel like 15 feet for our
3,
for our imperial listeners. Can I just go on the record? Probably again. I don't remember having done this, but I just got to say, it's time to switch to the goddamn metric system.
Yeah, because you're a big tool wrenching kind of guy, right? You like using metric tools.
I hate that I have to use 2 different fucking sets of sockets. It's infuriating. Because it's like, okay, that looks like about a 10. So, but you grab like a 10 and like an 11 and a 9, and fucking none of them fit. And then you're like, what is it? An 11, 30 seconds or whatever fucking button. Okay.
There's probably going to be a day when you reach my age where you're just going to be like, I don't give a shit what system we're using anymore. Fuck it. I don't even care. There was probably a day where I was like, yeah, man. Fuck pounds. Like, we should be going by stones. Or whatever.
No, England uses the same stupid shit
Stones?
we do.
Oh.
Kilograms.
Yeah. How many kilometers you live from here, man? It's not bad. It's not. I could probably walk it. Probably hoof it. It's only 3 kilometers.
Oh yeah. So I forgot what I was talking about there.
Oh,
They have
score.
posts, not nets.
Are the posts? Do they have like a stripe?
They
painted
do.
on them? Okay,
There would be a stripe painted at about chest height.
that's what I was wondering.
Below that, hitting it rewarded you with no points.
So there's one stripe.
No, there's several.
Okay.
But above the first stripe at chest height, below the second stripe, which was described as well out of arm's reach, that got you 1 point.
Yeah.
If you scored above the second line, that was, above where your hands could go, that got you 2 points. And on the very top of the pole would be a carving of an animal, like a fish or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hit the ball off the fish, you get 3 points. Now, games were generally played to about 20 When they were just playing for fun, they like maybe kept score. Maybe like a spectator would keep track. But when they were playing like a league game, like a serious one, like against a neighboring village or like a different tribe.
Yeah. A bunch of canoes heading down the river, all the whole team canoe. Hey, that's the team canoe. Holy shit, I saw the team canoe down the river today. Yeah, the whole team was in there. It's crazy.
Tinted windows.
Yeah. It's like a party. The party canoe rolls down the birch party canoe.
Yeah, so that's how you scored. The ball was made out of deer skin stuffed with hair or carved wood. Could go either way. Sometimes the sticks even, they didn't have nets at all. They would be like a giant spoon, like a giant wooden spoon.
Man.
It'd be heavy.
Yeah.
It'd be especially heavy to carry around because lacrosse games could last for several days.
Jesus. Yeah.
We talked about not dodging the oncoming opponents. Well, another key component is that much like early on in North American football, passing the ball was considered like a trick. Like that was kind of a dirty play too.
Do the funny one.
Yeah.
Let's do the funny one, you guys.
Yeah. Whoa, he's not holding it anymore, and now another guy's holding it a distance away.
What?
That's a dirty trick. Well, so basically what this could boil down to, this game, is like hundreds of people mashing up against each other, trying to force a ball a small distance on a field that's bare minimum 300 yards long. Which is why it could last forever. For several days.
Exhausted.
Or, generally at least sun up to sundown.
But this...
So I guess it's probably about as long as a modern professional baseball game.
Yeah. This game, not only was it a game to play as part of their culture and everything, but it had multi-purposes. It was to help them like become warriors, become more agile. It helped settle differences between tribes or between people in the tribe, maybe.
Yeah, it got people amped up to fight. It got you used to like kind of combat. The sport's kind of combat. You're just sort of bashing people trying to control territory, sort of like warfare, much like football.
And then also it was just awesome shit to watch. Like,
yeah, people loved watching this shit.
Yeah.
And
like if you got an invite to watch this, you'd probably take it. Because you're like, hell yeah, I'll watch this shit. What am I doing? I'm sitting.
Yeah, hell yeah, we'll go watch some lacrosse.
What else am I going to do? Look at pine trees? Shit.
Another interesting thing is that the players on either side would have to make wagers. So they'd have to put shit up for stakes. So like you'd bring like one of your treasures or like a handkerchief, or you'd bring useful tools like knives or tomahawks, and you'd put them on a rack off to the side. That was what you were bringing to the table. And the other side would do the same. And then at the end of the match, the prizes would sort of be rewarded accordingly. So, like, if I'm Team A and you're Team B and I shut you out, I beat you 20-0, we take everything that you brought and you don't take anything of ours.
That peace pipe over there is mine.
Yeah, but if, like, it's a 10, like, if it's, if it's, like, 20-19, they might take a couple handkerchiefs and a couple knives, but that'll be it.
Dreamcatcher's mine, dibs.
God damn it. Like, it's always the thing I brought that they take. They always take my thing.
That flute music CD you made, it's mine. I take it. The wind flute. Look at the street fair. It's like Native American flute music.
Yeah, like poorly manufactured.
Yeah. So around the same time in 1763, there was some shit going down.
Yes, this is the time of a famous Native American revolt called Pontiac's Rebellion. Another name that might be familiar if you're a fellow Michigander.
Or you may be familiar if you've ever driven in a Pontiac automobile. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the man.
The man who inspired all of that.
First Nation legend.
Yeah, so Pontiac was the leader of this rebellion. in opposition to many of the policies of the colonial overlords, the new ones. Like the French they weren't trying to permanently settle the place ever. So they kind of got along with the native population, well, if not good, much better than the British did.
The French are like, look, we're here. Yes, we are here.
Yeah.
Look, but we're not staying.
Yeah, we're going to kill a ton of beavers and a ton of wolverines, but we'll mostly stay out of your hair. We don't care what you're doing.
You probably won't see a mink for a while or a fox.
We're going to extinct the shit out of those.
Yeah. And keep your women away or they'll become ments or whatever. Whatever they said earlier.
Metis.
Yeah, and keep your women away or they're going to become metis. If you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, so what this was a large-scale rebellion, many tribes contributing to it, and sort of as the chief organizer and the leaders are the Odawa tribe and their leader, Pontiac. So that's going on at this time. And eventually, over the course of his rebellion, 8 forts are destroyed, hundreds of colonists and settlers were killed or captured, and what they were going for... And we know, unfortunately, from history, they didn't succeed at was driving the British out of the area.
No.
Didn't succeed. They came back because you're hearing us talk.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. Let's get down to this game. This is the pre-game.
Let's meet. Let's welcome to the stage...
British.
Enter this let's welcome to the episode.
The leader of Fort Michilimackinac.
British Major
George Etherington.
Hello, I just want to say, first off, I'm a fair man. I'm a trusting man. I'm a naive man. And I'm a stupid man.
How'd you get that Ojibwe accent?
So that was a little foreshadowing.
Yeah, pay attention to that. Just, DJ, run that shit back real quick. Yeah, just hit
if you're
that,
on SoundCloud, just take your finger.
15-second rewind button if you're on your iPhone.
Yeah.
So he was invited by Ojibwe leaders Minwewe and Majekawis, ostensibly to celebrate the king's birthday, to observe an exhibition lacrosse match right in front of the fort, right on the front lawn. This would, entail 500 or more young Ojibwe and Sauk warriors for June the 2nd. He didn't question it for a moment and said, that sounds like way more fun than sitting in this fort all day long staring at the wall.
Pine
because
trees.
I assume that's what he fucking did for fun.
Hey, let's go eat pasties and whitefish. What do they eat up in the northern tip?
Oh, I'll tell you. You find yourself up in Houghton. You find yourself up in Houghton. You go to the Ambassador, and you get you a Mexican pizza because this is the best one that I've ever had, and it's ironic that it comes from Houghton at a bar.
And if you are that establishment and you want to hear your name mentioned more on our show, contact us.
Yeah, we're just going to need a 50% stake in the bar. That's it. That's all it'll cost you.
We just need you to overnight us a pizza. That's our fee.
That's how we'll get things started. That's how we'll get the negotiation started.
Send us food. We'll talk about your establishment. Good food, though. Don't be shitty. I don't want no shitty food.
It's good.
Okay. I'm not saying them. I'm saying don't just think because you're McDonald's that we're going to get your name.
Yeah, now we're...
Guess what?
Okay,
hold
on.
Guess what? McDonald's sells burgers. You know that?
Yeah, hold on. Let me just text the accountants really quick. Let them know to get an invoice over to McDonald's before the show's done.
You don't have to run commercials anymore. We know what you do.
Yeah.
We fucking know.
Well, that's the thing about advertising, though, is they're not trying to inform you. People think advertising serves a good function in their lives, but it doesn't. They're just trying to make sure that you're on the top of their mind. They're literally just implanting their shit in your brain.
Just flashing their... every time we post a Dinner in Hell image on Twitter, you see Dinner in Hell on there. I'm making sure I'm pounding that brand home.
Yeah,
I
we're
want
trying
people
to manipulate you into remembering
Yeah.
and loving us.
Badass logo. Tell us our logo. Tweet us and tell us how badass our logo is, and how much. What a deal we got from the graphic designer that we paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, back to the story. So the major agrees. He accepts the invite. He's like, "Hey." He gets all the soldiers, the British soldiers that are occupying the fort.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Good news, boys. We got a freaking entertainment because TV's broke." At this time in 1763,
Yeah, he's
TV's broke. Let's go freaking check out this lacrosse game.
Yeah, hey boys, we're gonna go front and take in a game of lacrosse, eh?
Oh shit, is that Canadian?
Yeah, if the Ojibwe gets Southern accents, I guess the British guys get Canadian ones. Except, Etherington was British, but he was born in America and never left America.
Yeah. He's like in his 30s. He's
yeah,
like
now
a young man.
he's never been to England, but he's British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so they leave the fort. They don't even lock up. They leave their weapons behind.
And Etherington accepted this
Yeah.
with knowing, dude, they're the only trading post in the area. So he has a really, really good idea of the number of tomahawks and knives that he has traded to the local Ojibwe recently. And he knows there's been a ton of them, but he doesn't think anything of it.
He was warned about this.
Directly by the most prominent person in the area, too.
Who?
Oh, do I even need to say his name? The fur trader Charles Langlade?
The highly esteemed fur trader of the region?
Oh, yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
The guy who would fought besides Native American and First Nation soldiers?
Yep.
That Charles Langlade?
Absolutely.
I'm not reading.
Yeah, he straight up told him, he's like, listen, there's an uprising coming. Don't do this lacrosse thing. It's obviously a trick.
No way.
Yeah.
He did not tell him straight up that it's
He
a trick.
straight up told him.
He didn't
He's
metaphorically
like,
tell him.
No, he was like, don't do this. It's a trick. There's an uprising about to happen on your ass.
And the guy's like, phooey on you.
Oh, it was worse than that. He didn't just ignore him. He didn't just ignore the warning. He threatened him. He's like, he's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I'm the boss. And B, if you don't shut your fucking mouth, I'm going to have you locked up at Fort Detroit. He threatened him. And the real funny thing about that situation is Etherington was not aware that at that very moment, the Odawa and Pontiac had Fort Detroit under siege, and it had already been under siege for 3 weeks.
He hasn't got the Raven yet from Detroit.
Yeah, they haven't sent the Ravens north of the wall.
So he was threatening to send this informant guy, guy that lived in the woods, trapper, trader. And he was going to send his ass to Fort Detroit to be locked up.
Yeah.
But unbeknownst to him, Fort Detroit was under Pontiac's control.
Yeah, they weren't going to be locking anybody up.
That's great.
Yeah, so
Pontiac would have been like, "Hey, Langlade, what's up?"
Yeah, probably. I feel like he was well renowned. People knew who this dude was. So on June 2nd, the game day's here. This is no longer the pregame. This is the match day broadcast. So June 2nd, sun comes up. Etherington and his whole garrison, every single troop that's stationed there.
How many?
35 or so. They go march outside to watch the lacrosse match. And every single one of them, pretty much, leaves their weapons in the fort. And the gates, wide open.
Wide open. The gates were agape.
Yeah, he just flat out left the fucking gate open. So
he gaped the fort. I mean, I'm talking like the gape. The gates were agaped. Yeah, that's what.
So Langlade, though, he was nowhere to be found because he's no fucking dummy. So he was huddled up in his house with his family, waiting for, probably just praying. So the match starts. We have whatever kickoff is called in ancient lacrosse. And not too long after it starts, and this is another red flag that Longlide here should have been aware of. All the women that came to spectate the match were dressed unseasonably, wrapped in big blankets.
Yeah. Like beautiful, sprawled out, covering a lot of area.
Yeah.
Themselves.
They're all wrapped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all on the sidelines watching the game too.
Mm-hmm. Except after the game starts, they sort of edge over next to the open gates of the fort.
Okay.
So you can imagine the lacrosse game as it's been described to you commencing. Two, I don't know what else you'd call them, not teams, armies of people are bashing into each other playing this game. And the ball gets knocked astray off to the side, kind of over by those gates.
By the
that
women?
are wide open. Yeah.
By the women.
Yeah, over by them. Open by the gates and the women. And when all the warriors run over to chase them, and the women shed their blankets and reveal all those knives and tomahawks we told you about.
The ones that were getting bought at the British trading post.
Yeah. And it immediately, Etherington and his lieutenant are just snapped up, immediately captured, no fight, no nothing. One of the soldiers that was near them did have weapons and attempted to defend them, but was immediately killed.
This guy was freaking warned with valid insight from Native American, rumors.
Yeah, I mean, even
he
if
was
they
aware
were,
of the weapons being sold around and traded in
he
the
was
market.
literally flat out told by the most knowledgeable and experienced person in the entire region that there was an uprising coming.
He threatened that guy to keep his mouth shut. Didn't want to hear any more of it.
Yeah.
He has his army of 35 dudes leave their weapons behind. Like, this is going to be awesome. Like, drop your weapon, carry more alcohol, friend.
And we're talking about a world in which all of his weapons are one shot.
Oh, yeah.
And he's outnumbered more than 10 to 1.
Yeah, there's, like, one team was how many?
More than 500.
So, two teams.
500
and 35 soldiers.
and against 35.
Yeah. Unarmed.
Yeah.
A lot of scalps being scalped that day.
Yeah, everyone obviously was killed or captured. When they entered the fort, which again was not difficult because the doors were wide open, they killed every Englishman they saw. They were just rampaging through. Now, so when the Ojibwe entered the fort, because the gates were wide open, they started just massacring every Englishman that they saw.
And there were other people that were settlers too, like the French and the...
Yeah, see, they were on way better terms. I don't want to say they were friendly because I don't know that.
Yeah.
They were on better terms with the French. They didn't see the French as the same kind of threat that they saw the British as.
Yeah.
Which, I gotta say,
It's funny.
seems like a wise decision. But
That's funny. You in the blue, red, and white British flag shit.
yeah, so you're exactly right, though, because I said they were massacring every Englishman. Because
Right.
you know what they did to every Frenchman they found?
No.
Nothing.
Right.
They were just like, oh, like they could be stabbing one guy, see another white guy walk by and be like, oh, no, that's Pierre. What's up, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude smoking a cigarette. He's got a thin mustache. He's like,
Oh.
Parlez-vous Français?
Yeah, and they're like, oh, no problem.
He's like, bonsoir.
I think good thing you started talking because I almost stabbed you.
He's eating a croissant. He's like, you're good. You, on the other hand, eating the freaking fish and chips. You're dead. You kicking the soccer ball. Get over here. Scalps him.
Yes, the reason we know this is from the later account of one Alexander Henry, a young British fur trader. So his recollections involved him being inside his home in the fort and seeing the attack begin.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so once he saw it happen, it would have been pretty clear immediately that there was an uprising, and then it became clear to him also very quickly that they were cutting down any Englishmen that they would happen across. So he tried to ask Langlade for help. He's like, hey, what's his first name? Robert? I can't remember.
Langlade.
Charles.
Oh, Charles.
He's like, hey, Chuck, open the door, man. Let me in.
I got the stuff. Who? It's me, Dave, man. Open up the door.
Yeah,
you talking about Cheech and Chong? You doing Cheech and Chong?
I was just
that was a Cheech and Chong bit.
No.
That's a classic,
like
yeah.
Dave's not here.
Dave's not here, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, sorry. So he's like, let me in, man. They're freaking killing people.
Chuck, dude, open the door. But Charles, he had already seen that it was the Frenchmen were fine. So he was like, I ain't fucking this up. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm safe. My family's safe. So he basically tells him, like,
jeez.
His exact words were, what do you want me to do about it? But he basically told him to, like, sit and spin. Like, you're on your own, bro.
It's not my problem.
I mean, luckily for him, and as an impingement upon the character of the esteemed Mr. Langlade, that his Indian slave girl took pity on Mr. Henry and invited him into the attic to hide with her. So she kindly gave him a place to hide. So that's how Alexander Henry survived the initial attack. Wouldn't last forever. They got him the next day. They didn't kill him, though. They only took him prisoner.
They didn't kill him. They only took his scalp off. I'm just kidding. They took him prisoner.
Yeah, they got him the next day, and him and about 19 other prisoners were taken by canoe away from the fort, where eventually fog forced them to land. They didn't get as far away as they wanted, but during the trip, I mean, you may not be able to have known by this point in the story, but I don't think this is that fucked up. Like, I think, like, they were right to have an uprising. Obviously, as the rest of history goes.
It's just like this topic is just an atrocious history's atrocious underbelly. Like, it's not like you know, the happy freaking Plymouth Rock Mayflower shit. It's not like, oh, electricity was invented. This is like,
yeah, this is
some
the real shit
that was. I guess the atrocious part was like the whole game plan, like the women hiding the knives, inviting him to the game, knew he'd be unarmed, like armies of players. Like, that's just like the dark, you know, violent. We have blood for our logo. We have a plate with blood on it. Like, you know, we're dark.
Yeah. But it's usually usually there's a villain in our stories. And usually it's the villain that's doing the bad stuff. But in this one, I'd say it's the good guys that are doing the bad stuff.
But like we did Pompeii, you know, we do stories, you know.
Yeah, sometimes there's no villain.
Black Plague was not a person. I
only bring that up because usually there's a whole lot of fucking gory-ass details. And this has the only detail where I was like, whoa, that's fucked up. So I thought I'd point that out. During his trip, Alexander Henry recalls like his treatment by his captors. And what they were, it doesn't sound that bad at first, but they were offering him bread. Now, the thing about it is they'd be like, and they were he said they would talk to him like really, really nice too, which made this part all the weirder. So what they were doing is being like, oh, you must be hungry, Alexander. You know, how about a little bit of bread? And they'd cut him off a piece of bread from a loaf, but it was bread that was stained with the blood of his fellow Englishmen. And they were doing it on purpose to taunt him.
Like they put a plate out with blood sauce, like a dipping sauce. Like it's like a nice buttery cheese Alfredo.
I'm sure if they had the infrastructure to do that, yeah, that's basically the tone of it.
British blood.
Yeah, so he'd cut him with the bloody knife, cut a piece of the bread off, and then lick the knife and spread saliva on it and like nicely offer him the bread. Like, here you go.
Here, eat up, man. You gotta be starving by now.
Yeah, but even like just cutting it with like the knife that's stained with the blood of your like team, I guess, is like fucking psychologically like that's aggressive. It's admirable from like a psyops perspective.
It's aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to like unnerve and terrify your captive, it's a good way to do it. Probably keep them off their, like keep them on their toes.
All our Ojibwe snobs out there listening right now, they're going, dude, that's a goddamn Ojibwe delicacy. You guys act like it's disrespectful.
Oh,
That was a fucking treat that guy was being served. You need to open your mind a little. Dinner in hell, typical dinner in hell bullshit.
Oh man, I almost hope that's true. That would be
We got
hilarious.
rice snobs tuning in. We got Ojibwe snobs tuning in.
We got a little bit of NBA talk in here today.
We got like the size of a grain of rice of NBA talk and rice talk. So 2 grains of rice of the pile. I went that way.
Yeah, so they take these guys to an encampment, and the Odawa show up, and they're pissed because they were expected that like they wanted to lead the attack. They weren't there for the attack. They got excluded. I mean, you'll find a lot of people kind of get pissed off about missing this shindig. But so the Odawa, because they're in control of the larger umbrella rebellion, so they're like, hey, we're taking these prisoners, we're seizing them. So Alexander Henry gets seized by the Odawa and taken right back to Fort Michilimackinac. Because the Odawa took control over the fort after that. It wasn't the Ojibwe. But, you know, they're brothers in arms. They're part of an alliance. They're not going to be for that long. So they squashed it pretty quick. And he's back as a prisoner with the Ojibwe again. I mean, imagine how weird that would be. You're taken prisoner from this fort, taken out into the wilderness, seized by another group, taken back where you just came from, and then given back to the original group and taken away again from the fort. That's what's going on for Alexander Henry here.
Wow.
It was, however, lucky for him, too, that things shook out this way.
What's that?
The winter before, an Ojibwe man named Wawatam had adopted Henry as his brother after a vision. He said a spirit told him to take a white man as an adopted brother, and it happened to be Alexander Henry. And the Wawatam saw him. He happened to be there. He recognized him by face, went to the elders and was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This guy's my brother. You can't have him like this. He's coming with me. And they were like, sure, that makes sense. So Alexander Henry goes with Wawatam and stays in his lodge, like in comfort, like sleeping in a bed, because he was serious. He's like, this is my adopted brother.
Yeah.
You can't keep him prisoner. I'm taking him, like, and he did. So in the night, another chief comes, and he was fucking pissed that he didn't get invited, or he sounded like he was invited but late. That was kind of how I read it, like he just missed it, not that he wasn't invited. But he was pissed that he missed it, and he wanted his own vengeance on the British, so he just straight up knifed 7 of the prisoners in the night.
Damn.
Yeah, Alexander Henry woke up in the night to see this happen through his like comfy lodge window. Talk about like a close shave.
Like he's like, nobody's home. Like the guy outside, like looking in the
Nobody
window.
here but us chickens.
Like he's covered up with a blanket, like, can't kill me if I'm asleep.
Yeah. Yeah, so you may be wondering at this point, you said that they captured Etherington right away. What happened to him? Well, Etherington was bound naked in the fort until, I mean, it must have been a week or two later when a representative from a fort in Wisconsin showed up with another garrison to negotiate his release. originally they were going to kill him, but when they got a load of his rank, they were like, shit, we might be able to get like a really good ransom for this dude. So they opted to sell him for a ransom.
Like 6 beaver pelts.
I couldn't find anywhere exactly what it was, but that's what happened. They got him out.
I want 1 wolf, 6 beaver, 2 mink, 1 marmot. Martin, I mean. If you got any wild turkey feathers, take those too.
Yeah, so after this had happened, though, obviously after this, there's no British presence at Fort Michilimackinac.
Right.
It's run by the Odawa. The Odawa are in charge. But, it's June. A few months have gone by. And, a lot of these tribes don't have cities. They're migratory.
Yeah.
So they have different lands that suit their needs better in every season that they travel to. They migrate.
Mm-hmm.
They have winter hunting grounds to go to. So, eventually they just leave. They abandon Fort Michilimackinac as well.
Did you see Dances with Wolves?
A long time ago.
I bet you'll remember a scene like at the end where they're like walking in the snow. Like they were migrating to their winter location.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the whole movie was like in the grasslands, like summer. But then at the end, when they're like fighting like in the river and shit, they're migrating through snowy mountains and shit.
Yeah, just like that.
Little visual. They're migratory.
It eventually sort of remains nominally, at least, in the control of Langley. He survives all of this. Langley's everywhere. And the few other French traders that remain, because they passed them by, they'd be like, "Oh no, you're cool. Remember when they were doing the stabbing?" So there's a few French guys there and their families, but that's it. After that,
to this day, if you visit Fort Mackinac,
he's still there.
He tells the story to you. You get to pay a ticket and everything. But yeah, people still listen to Langley tell the story of the days.
You go in there, he's skinning a beaver right there on like the stoop.
He's like, and you can like trick him, really easily tricked. Wait,
no.
I'm sorry, I confused him with the frickin' major. Never mind. Yeah, Langley's gutting a friggin' trout. He's like, come on in. Let me tell you a story.
260 years old.
You ever cleaned a rabbit? You ever skinned a rabbit? Tell me the truth. I'll know if you're lying. So what's going on? We're going to wrap this up with Fort Detroit's, the state of Fort Detroit.
Yeah. So
currently?
Up at Fort Michilimackinac, they were migrating to their winter hunting grounds, so they abandoned that. And the same thing happened to Pontiac's siege of Detroit. It eventually just kind of sort of fizzled out. And the next summer, there wasn't another offensive, and the British took it way more seriously. So at that point in time, 3,000 soldiers were marching from Niagara Falls to relieve Detroit from what they'd suffered from their siege. And then a detachment was sent forth to retake Fort Michilimackinac, but there was nobody there except for a few families. So it was a bloodless recapturing of the fort.
So when you think of like after this freaking whole like perfectly planned game murder massacre was planned out, how do you think word got to the British government and like army? Like, do you think they got it from that guy that told the account from the cabin? Is it his word? Is that the initial first time he told it?
No.
Or did other Native Americans tell the word like, oh, you should have saw, we slaughtered all you motherfuckers?
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Once they realized how high of a rank Etherington was that they'd captured, they let him send a messenger to that fort in Wisconsin.
Like, go ahead, tell your friends. Bring some cheese back. But still, tell your friends.
Yeah. They were like, oh, yeah, go tell him so that we can get a ransom for you. Yeah, they let him ask for help.
That dude was like, I get to go to Wisconsin? Awesome. I love beer.
Yeah. A pack.
I love cheese and beer.
Cheese and beer, sausages,
sausages. I love Laverne and Shirley. I'm a big fan. So I'm really excited about going to freaking Wisconsin finally. Like happy days. That was Milwaukee. There was a show called Laverne and Shirley, Brad.
I know,
involved these two women.
It was a spin-off from Happy Days.
Yeah. And they worked in a beer brewery.
They
in
were
Milwaukee.
related to Pinky Tuscadero, weren't they?
No, is Al, who had the diner on Happy Days, his daughter was Laverne. I believe. Yeah. I think it's Al's daughter. It was Laverne, and then Laverne's roommate was Shirley.
I'm much more familiar with the Arnold years.
Anybody out there listening, tweet at us anytime, even if it's months after this episode posts.
Yeah.
Correct us.
I'm going to also go on the record as saying I prefer Arnold. Pat Morita, when he was on the show, I thought it was better.
Yeah. You didn't like Al? Was it Al DeFazio?
He was okay, but Arnold was better.
Al DeFazio because of Laverne DeFazio and Shirley Feeney. Yeah.
All right. Well, what's your favorite thing about Wisconsin or 70s sitcoms?
Or Native American stories. You want to hear more Native American stories? Let us know. We'd love to do more. That was our first.
Yeah, we'd love to.
That was our first one.
Yeah, it was. We mentioned a few others in like the Take the Heart Out. I know we mentioned a few.
Yeah.
And then we've done other Native American with like the cranial deformation. They've come up in our Body Mod series. We've done a few. They've come up, but this is the first dedicated full episode. You're absolutely right.
And first Michigan-based, too, for all our Michigan listeners. As a Michigan
we've had
story.
we've had a few tie-ins, but this is the biggest one for sure.
So when you think Mackinac, think Massacre.
Mm-hmm.
Think of that stupid-ass British major that fell for it.
Oh, yeah, and trademark on Think Mackinac, Think Massacre. Dinner in Hell trademark. We own that. Can't use it. Mackinac, you want to use that to plug your museum or something, you're going to have to pay us because that's our IP now. We got that.
If you'd like to place an order for the T-shirt, contact us on Twitter. We're Twitter people.
On Twitter, speaking of, you can get at us at Dinner in Hell Pod. You can also email us at dinnerinhellpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube. We're all over the place. You name it. Weird Russian or Italian, like aggregators. They have our videos listed. And, Google us, then go to like page 13. Click on that stuff. It's real weird. But
this band is all over the place. This crowd. Chill.
Yeah, sound great.
All over the place, yet chill.
All over the place and chill. Yeah, I mean, it's a combination that's difficult to describe. You kind of have to see it.
Some would say our discussions are all over the place.
But chill.
To this episode that you're listening to now, today, if you're listening to it on the day that it dropped, we also are appearing on the Shakecast podcast. You look them up. We are appearing on their show, and that episode drops today as well. So after you listen to this, if you want more of me and Brad, click on their show and listen to that one. And we're
SHAYKCAST, Shakecast.
SoundCloud, Twitter.
Yep.
On that episode, or I'm sorry, the next time that you will hear a new episode, we will be doing our big Volume 2.
Nazis, Volume 2.
We're planning like 3-part series on the Holocaust topic.
Mm-hmm.
So we're geared up for that. Get psyched for that.
Yep, it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a bad one, folks.
Thank you.
Good night.